Now, if you'll recall in video 2, these segments of Purple Heart were pressed flat against the plate glass. And so I know that this area is flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down, and then I'm going to mill this down, or sand this down, so that it's nice and flat. Then flip it over, and then I'll just do the Purple Heart side as little as possible. Makes sense to me anyway. Okay, I know it doesn't look like it because there are the sanding marks on here, but these pieces are basically flat. They'll glue up really good. Okay, these tall rails have done their job for these thicker rings, but now I need shorter rails for this ring. Do you remember those very shallow little holes that I drilled in each one of those discs? Well, this pin is supposed to fit in those holes. Okay, what I've done is I've centered this ring on this mahogany base, and then I've drawn a line around the inside there so I can tell exactly where the glue has to go on the base, and these have been adjusted right up tight against the edge of the ring and tightened into place. And the idea is that when I take this off and put the glue on, and then when I put this back on in exactly the same place, this ring will not slide around when I put pressure on it. I've had problems with that before. This jig solves that problem. Okay, don't laugh. Wedging everything between my workbench and my ceiling actually works pretty good. The 3 rings and the base are all glued together now, and I'll know tomorrow morning how well everything stayed centered when I try to put it on the lathe and turn it down. You know, I've got to get a different camera. I am definitely not that wide. Seriously. You know, I've watched some real pros on YouTube. They probably got like 10,000 or more hours of lathe time under their belts, and they're standing knee-deep in shavings. Well, that's not me. So, hence the noise from the dust collector. Now, I don't want to get carried away and go too deep here. I only want to go deep enough to remove this glue. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to go here. And as you can see, the base has been turned down to a shape where, when I turn it around, it can be easily grabbed by the jaws of the chuck. Now if you happen to watch the segmented flower pot, you probably noticed that I had a nasty scratch on my right arm just above the elbow. Well, I'm not going to let that happen today, so I'm going to remove the cause while I'm changing things around here. Oh, and in case you're interested, you can hardly see where the scratch was anymore. Okay, it's turned down basically round on the outside now. I don't think there's any areas here where the chisel hasn't actually touched the wood, so that means it's got all the glue off. But now I just have to turn down the inside before I can turn it around and put it back down, put it back on the lathe the other way again, so I can finish off the bottom. I was planning on moving my lathe out from the wall so that I could stand behind it while I was doing this. However, I'd forgotten how heavy that lathe was, and it stayed where it was. Well, except for the sanding, I think I've got the inside about as good as it's gonna get. I just want to open up the rim of the bowl just a little bit here, make it a little wider. Then it's ready for sanding for sure. You know, I've said this before, but I sure like the looks of that mahogany. And it's going to look especially nice once the clear coat is on. It's going to have a nice rich texture to it, and the Purple Heart is going to look good too. It's all going to contrast really nice against that aspen. The bowl is now sanded, pretty much the way I did the spruce bowls, and I did a little bit more work on the bottom. And now I've got my lathe turned down here to about 50-60 RPM, and I'm going to try and put on a little bit of the varnish and see what it's going to look like. Oh boy, this is starting to look pretty good. I can hardly wait till Christmas.